Jamar Chase is out, but Joe Burrow might be back in. This Patriots at Bengals game this weekend just got a little bit more interesting. Let's break it down.
He's sacked, intercepted, into the end zone, touchdown, Patriots!
Welcome everybody to this week's game preview as the Patriots get ready to head to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. And Ev, news last week, Jamar Chase is out, but then we get news this week that Joe Burrow, full participant at practice, dealing with a toe injury. He's been out for a while. What does this mean for the Patriots?
Well, I think what it means more is for the Bengals, in that they were starting to let go of the rope a little bit. It was almost 1-2-3 Cancun there in Cincinnati, I think. Jamar Chase gets suspended. Trey Hendrickson's not playing. Joe Burrow's not playing. You're 3-7. But if you get your quarterback back, then all of a sudden you have a purpose again. You have a life again, if you will, in Cincinnati. So I think that's the biggest thing. You went into this game thinking that maybe a couple early touchdowns, the Bengals might just kind of roll over. Well, now if they get Burrow back and there's a little bit of hope again in that building, it sort of just changes how the Bengals approach it, I think.
Now, let's be honest, like, this offense didn't totally fall off a cliff with Joe Flacco, who I think is, 50 years old now at this point. I mean, it seems like he's
40.
been in this league forever, but still playing great. T. Higgins, still a dangerous weapon. Andre Yoshivas still in there in the slot. Interesting matchup there for the Patriots. But this is still an offense that ranks 14th in DVOA. They haven't been too bad. Last week, a little bit less production than they had the earlier 2 weeks, but overall, this still feels like a team that could put up points on the board if the Patriots aren't on their game.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way, and I was all ready to kind of gas up a shootout here, but then Jamar Chase gets suspended. Now we might have a shootout again because Joe Burrow might be playing, but I do think that this has the making of potentially being one of those higher scoring games because the Bengals can move the ball offensively, and they still have Higgins. I think Yoshivas is an underrated player that just doesn't get the targets to really have the volume stats, but if he has a bigger role, can make plays. Chase Brown out of the backfield is a scat back that's difficult to cover for linebackers underneath the defense. So there's a lot of different things that they can do. When you look at the splits, they are about the same exact offense with Joe Flacco as they are with Joe Burrow. They're in the shotgun just as much. They're a lot of 3 wide receiver. They don't use a ton of motion or window dressing. They kind of just spread the field out, rely on their skill talent to shine. And, one of the more pass heavy offenses in the entire National Football League, throwing the ball almost 70% of the time.
You mentioned Chase Brown. Want to lean into him a little bit. 748 scrimmage yards, second on the team. And also their tight end group. Noah Fant, Mike Gesicki's window open this week. Not sure if we're going to see him. But these seem like two spots that, if I were the Bengals, and I've watched plenty of this Patriots defense over this year, those might be two areas to really target. Target the linebackers underneath, target the safeties in coverage, try to maybe get those matchups. We know Mike Gesicki, athletic guy, maybe some mismatches there for the Bengals to exploit. But, Chase Brown catching little dump-offs out of the backfield, that concerns me a little bit.
Yeah, he's quick, and he's really good at breaking tackles. And I think the number one thing that all the things that you just listed out that stands out to me is this is a matchup game. Like, this is not one of those games where you're just going to kind of come out in your defensive structure and Gonzo's going to be on one side and Davis is going to be on the other and Jones is going to be in the slot, because Yoshivas and Higgins will both run routes out of the slot. They'll use the tight ends. Fant and Gesicki are essentially big receivers, so those guys will run routes out of the slot. And then you also have to deal with Brown in the backfield running routes out of the backfield. So if you get caught in a position where Marcus Jones is on T. Higgins or one of your linebackers is on Chase Brown, and there's size mismatches, there's speed mismatches. So I'm hoping that the Patriots are going to come out of this game and really shadow matchups and say specifically, Carlton Davis, you have T. Higgins, and Christian Gonzalez, you have Yoshivas, and this is how we're going to handle Chase Brown out of the backfield, because my guess is that the Bengals are going to try to get their 6'5" receiver on the Patriots' 5'8" slot corner and try to play basketball down the field.
Especially in the red zone, right? I mean, that's a spot. Patriots rank 32nd in the red zone. You've got some size mismatches potentially. Like you said, Bengals not maybe moving guys around a lot in terms of motion and stuff to try to get those matchups, but that to me is a concern too when they get down in that red zone. Patriots defense got to get some stops. Let's flip it over to the other side of the ball now. Look, we know
try to be as nice as we can.
The Bengals defense, let's just say it. I mean, they are on pace for the worst DVOA defense since they started keeping DVOA. If that's your jam, that advanced stat. There's opportunities here. You mentioned Trey Hendrickson not playing. Patriots getting a little healthy. Ramondre Stevenson back at practice. He's still been limited. We don't know if he's going to go or not, but I think that will be a huge boost for the offense. And then Kayshon Boutte on the outside, who's missed a couple games and has been, a really reliable downfield target for Drake Maye. You mentioned maybe this gets into a shootout. Be great to have those guys back, especially Boutte trying to push the ball down the field.
Yeah, and it sounds like Bootie's going to have a good chance of practicing in full on Wednesday. So it sounds good for his status. And just looking at the numbers from an efficiency standpoint, the Patriots passing game doubles in efficiency in terms of EPA when Kayshon Boutte's on the field versus when he's off the field. And I think you could see that come to fruition, against Atlanta. He leaves the game at the end of the first half. They only score 3 points the entire second half. So as much as they've done a nice job replacing Mac Hollins, Kyle Williams in aggregate, kind of replacing Kayshon Boutte, I do think they've missed Boutte and missed that downfield element with him in the game. So him coming back would be really big. Travion Henderson, we still want him heavily involved, but you don't want him to have to carry this kind of load where he's playing 80% of the snaps every single week. So getting Ramondre Stevenson back will be good as well. And this is a defense in Cincinnati where you can kind of just pick your stat that you like, whether it's DVOA, EPA,
yards.
If you're old school and you want to go points and yards, they're last in everything. So this is a good week. If you're a Drake Maye MVP lover, then you can kind of pad those stats a little bit this week.
That's right. Well, it wouldn't be a preview video if we didn't talk about Drake Maye, of course. Continuing his MVP pace. I thought last week on Thursday Night Football against the Jets, we saw another good protection. I got to give some credit up front. I felt like early on they set a tone. Maye had some time. He got comfortable, and we saw really when that Maye is almost unstoppable. He just looks so comfortable in the pocket. But we're coming down here to the final 6 games of the season. The Patriots are very much in the playoff mix. I mean, they are atop the playoff mix and maybe even a chance to get the bye. But let's break down Maye. What do we need to see from him as we get into these games? We know they're going to get tougher and tougher as the season progresses here into the winter months.
Can we get a 300-yard passing game? Yeah, let's get that box checked, and so we don't have to hear about that anymore. So 300-yard passing game is really the last kind of frontier for him. I mean, I don't really think there's anything else that he hasn't accomplished other than, of course, winning at a high level in the playoffs. But for this regular season, that's really the next step for him. And this is a great opportunity against the Bengals defense that, frankly, doesn't always look like it knows what it's doing. And I think that's the number one thing when I look at this Patriots offense against the Bengals defense. It's not only that there's a little bit of a talent gap between these two units, but it's also that the Bengals just don't seem like they're on their details. Like they don't know, how are we going to sort out this 3-by-1, this bunch, this motion, this check? Like, what are we doing here? And then you snap the football and guys are just open down the field. There's coverage busts or guys are blowing assignments and things like that. So there's a lot of discussion in Cincinnati just about the fact that they don't really know where to line up right now defensively. When you go up against Josh McDaniels and you don't know how to, really handle those types of tricks of the trade, McDaniels is going to have their mind in a blender, I am sure. And young linebackers, too. A lot of rookies playing at linebacker with Barrett Carter in them for the Bengals as well. So if you can get these guys, in that blender and get their mind in a pretzel, I think that they're going to be able to have not just opportunities for Drake Maye to get 300 yards passing, but maybe some easy layups down the field where you see some really big plays.
All right, well, we'll be keeping an eye on Joe Burrow's status in the lead up to game time. Obviously, that would change the dynamic of this game and really make it pretty exciting to see Joe Burrow back on the field, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So be sure to join us for the Patriots pregame show, which will start at 11:45. Kickoff's at 1 p.m. We'll see you then.